Voilà, au loin. Dear members of the Research Advisory Board, dear experts, dear representatives of the Commission, I hear that a few of them are here present with us this morning. Thank you for being here with us this morning. I have at least two reasons to be very happy and very proud to have us gather here this morning. First, because I'm a Belgian, Bruxelloise almost. I'm a bit of a mix, but I have been in Brussels for a few decades now. So, of course, it's a pleasure and an honor to welcome you in our beautiful capital. I do hope you will have the time, some minutes, to enjoy Brussels after the conference, of course, this afternoon, late in the afternoon. The second reason, coming back to our topic today, is, of course, that Rare 2030 is one of my proudest achievements. I've been in the Parliament for, shall I dare say, 20 years now. It's my 21st year in the Parliament as a member of the European Parliament, and Rare 2030 is one of my proudest achievements. I should say one of our proudest achievements, because, of course, we managed what we have in our hands today together with Eurordis, with the experts, and with all my colleagues who worked with me to get us where we are today. We are, of course, merely at the beginning. We all know that the stakes are high for us to deliver on our promises, to step up the fight against rare diseases. Forgive me if I stay in my role this morning. We have had this project adopted by the European Parliament, and this in itself was an achievement. It's a truly novel initiative. We first started as members of the Parliament to work on the project back in 2016, I think. I'm looking at Jan for this. As such, we started this 3 years ago. We needed these 3 years to set it up and launch it officially last January. We did this together also. 3 years, of course, is a very long time if you ask the patients, if you ask those who suffer from rare diseases. We tried to do it fast, but time is a rare commodity in politics as well. And time, in fact, is the very reason we decided to propose Rare 2030. With two of my colleagues, Mrs. Grosstedt, who's not a member anymore, but who was very active also and instrumental, and Mr. Bouzoy, Dr. Bouzoy, who's still there working together with us. The aim actually was to offer us all the luxury to press pause and take our noses, if I may say it like that, out of the grindstone, sit down for a moment, brainstorm, consult, all together, all of you, and prioritize. So here we stand, see what these very special patients very specifically need, and come up, of course, with trailblazing ideas and policies that will have the best impact. Results are what these patients urgently need now. Now, getting Rare 2030 approved was not an easy process. We decided to propose it a bit of cuisine parlementaire here. Without annoying you, of course, but so that you know where we started from. We decided to go through the framework of pilot projects. Pilot projects are a very useful tool in the European Parliament. They are 2 years initiatives meant to experiment and test the feasibility and usefulness of an action. All that without having to go through the very cumbersome legislative process, which can take even longer, if you can believe it. Pilot projects is exactly what we needed for Rare 2030. Drafting the proposal and tabling our pilot project was only the beginning, of course. Then we needed to convince, as we always do in the Parliament, a majority of colleagues not only that it was a good project, which were of course convinced, but it also was better than all the others, because at the end of the day, it is a competition. So we, the legislators, are sometimes to that concern between a rock and a hard place when it comes to choosing between projects which basically all deserve to be funded. Competing, and I said that last year, I remember when we met during the launch, that year competing against us was, just to take a few examples, a project to develop alternative method to animal testing, very valuable. A program to help alcoholic women with their dependency before and during pregnancy, and also a project to allow preclinical testing of a treatment against the short bowel syndrome. Only 4 proposals got approved in October that year. So we were one of the proposals adopted, which meant for us, for Rare 2030, €2.5 million to go further, to build. It was an intense time of lobbying, first to convince, as I said, the colleagues within the health committee, then after that for the plenary, in each of our different political group, we managed. So I also want, of course, because this is a common job, to thank the European Commission, whose help was completely instrumental in the success of our endeavor. They believed in the project from the start and always provided very good feedback and reviews. I look forward, of course, to our very fruitful discussions today. I will not be able to stay with you during the whole day because I have to take the floor in 2 hours, I think. I don't have a clock here, but we have the Health Committee meeting for the moment, yesterday and today, and so I have to take the floor, but I'm sure that we'll stay connected to follow the trends you will be validating today. It's about validation. Now, concerning my the fact that I have to take the floor in the Health Committee in less than 2 hours, it is a coincidence of the calendar, but I'm drafting a resolution. I presented it yesterday to my colleagues on the digital transformation, should I say revolution, of health and care. The Health Committee has debated on my draft yesterday, and it should be adopted. It's now open for amendments, and this is what we have to discuss together. I do not wish to prejudge the debates that will take place here today, but your reflections actually have already extensively highlighted the key role that digitalization and artificial intelligence can play, must play, will play in the fight against rare diseases, as well as in the provision of care more generally, if I can say it like that. They have the potential to be truly disruptive opportunities to change how we fight rare diseases and how patients live with them. And my resolution, our resolution, the resolution of the Parliament, hopefully, after the vote in plenary, acknowledges that. It calls for the lifelong training of health professionals and patients alike to make the most of what the latest technologies can offer. Digitalization can improve the way we deliver healthcare, truly tailor it to the patient needs, putting them back at the center of research and decision-making progress. It also, my text also calls for the standardization of data collection across Europe to help foster research and eventually results, of course. This is what we were looking for. This increase in data collection and exchanges must respect the privacy of a patient and remain completely secure. I really insisted on this yesterday during the debate. I will ask for the launch of a European debate on the ethics of digitalization in the health sector. Artificial intelligence cannot be the gateway to dehumanized care. This is the cornerstone. So I started, I don't know how long I have been talking, but never trust a politician when he says he's going to be very short. He never is. She never will be. I started, and we usually get 1 minute, 2 minutes speaking time in the Parliament, so this is an advantage. I started by saying that this conference is the occasion to listen to you today, validate your priorities. We as Parliament are more than ever very closely following your work. I think this e-health resolution is yet another example, we did this together, of our fruitful cooperation. So I will stop here and give you the floor back. I wish you a very good conference, and I think it's your turn, Jan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rees, and really thank you very much for supporting us all along, because I think when you said 3 years, it was probably 5 years when we started this initial conversation, and we couldn't get the project of foresight through the Commission, so we went back to the Parliament, and you welcome us to take action. So good morning, everyone. I have the pleasure to do this introduction, starting with what is this project? We're 2030. Why are we here, really? We cannot predict the future for the rare disease community, but we can certainly prepare it, right? We have more chances to have a better future of what we want to happen in this area if we do prepare it. Next, I let you, yeah, maybe you can because in fact, Anna did prepare the presentation, so she can probably anticipate even more than what I would. So what is preparedness for an optimal future is that we're going from all the analysis of exist today and identifying the drivers of change, and I will develop that further later on. And what we're trying to is to go from the complexity and the patchy situation on policy, on research, on all the actors, to try to simplify. And obviously, a foresight exercise is a simplification. And I know that some people in this room may be hurt by that, to say that's too simple, that's too obvious and easy to say that. Yes, but that's the purpose of the exercise, so that we can simplify and then look at the potential future. And what we are doing in the context of this project, it's called WHERE 2030, but what we've decided with our partners from the beginning is in fact to look at the horizon of 2040. So really to detach from any immediate trend, but to try to think the future and then come back to 2030 when we think in terms of policy options and scenario development. Why now are we doing this project is that the health of 30 million people with rare disease should not be left to luck or to chance. The more we prepare, the more we have chances that what we're anticipating is happening. We need an updated policy on rare diseases. And this policy framework has been really defined only in 2008, 2009, if you think of it. Because what do we have? We have a regulation on pharma, which is orphan drugs, and that's back 1999. So that's 20 years. But that was really pharma, right? And then we worked on the pediatric regulation and on the advanced therapy, so the genes and cell therapies and tissue engineering. But it's only after that that we really developed a strategy which is to address the needs of people with rare disease. So thinking about the people this time, not about the products. And that was 2008, 2009, and it's only 10 years. And we are in an environment where a lot of people would just like to tick the box and say, I need to move to the next priority. I need to move to cancer back. I need to move to Alzheimer's. And we're all concerned by these different priorities. There are competing priorities in the healthcare system, but also in politics. And in our families, we do have these different diseases. So don't take me wrong. We've never said that we're trying to oppose the suffering of people with rare diseases with the suffering of someone with Alzheimer's or cancer or any other type of diseases. We're too much into all type of diseases, or personal stories often even reflect that. But my point is to say that cancer was a priority already in the 60s, even before. If you think between the two world wars, some started the cancer leaks and the fundraising. But it's in the 60s that Nixon in the US and de Gaulle in Europe said it needs to be an international priority. And then we created, for instance, the International Center for Research on Cancer based in Lyon. And then you had in the 80s, François Mitterrand, who said, we're going to make it a priority for Europe. We're going to create the week for cancer. It happens that was my first job, in fact, when I started to work. I organized the first week against cancer. And it's so slow, the progress, when you look at it, right? And then after, there were so many initiatives. So when I hear today the European Commission and the new president saying, we're going to make cancer a priority, ha, 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 thank you, great. We've made some progress in cancer. Fantastic progress, and there is still a lot of progress to do. But we're not going to make public health progress if we only take pieces like that, and if we always take cancer for 60 years. Here we have only 10 years, and we have 6,000 diseases and 25 million people. So my point is to say that one policy in 2008, 2009 doesn't make the job. Things are evolving, the environment is evolving, and we need to have a new policy framework to address the needs of the people based on the current situation. So why now precisely is that we have a new European Parliament, as Mrs. Ries just re-explained, and also a new Commission, but there is a new momentum, there is opportunities in this new Commission, and a new Council also. And we know the political situation. We know that the member states play a greater role, right, in Europe. We know that Europe is obliged to make new priorities like defense, like the economic agenda, all that. I mean, we all know that. We're all citizens and we read the newspapers. And in the council also, there is new changes and games. Into all of that, health is not a priority. Obviously, it's still not a high priority, but it is there. It is mentioned more by the new president of the commission. It has been well mentioned, I think, in the parliament when you have the auditions of the commission. So we may have little chances here. But the legislative assessment and revision and introduction, I'd like to insist on this report, which is here, and Milan Macek will mention it later again today, is the report of the Court of Auditors, the European Court of Auditors. They did a report on the implementation on the cross-border healthcare directive. So that means what the Court of Auditors does is that they don't look at what the member states are doing, but what the Commission is doing, how Commission is implementing a directive. And they made an analysis with some criticism and some positive points, and they make recommendation. And one of their key recommendations is to say that the Commission needs to review, adapt, and replace potentially the policy framework on rare disease before 2023. And this conclusion has just been backed up by the Council itself in its conclusions. Thanks again to Milan Macek and the colleagues from Czech Republic. So I'd like to make that bridge between our work here on setting priorities, on thinking about future and scenarios, and this policy agenda in order to try to obtain a new policy framework for European Commission and for member states. And obviously, today there is a new, bigger agenda, international, and I'm pleased that we have Juran Wong with us, the chair of Rare Disease International. Is the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations by 2030. The difference with this SDGs 2030 compared to the Millennium Goals is that this time there is a buy-in by the Commission and the EU at large. So they are using the SDGs to set part of the agenda to say, how are we going to contribute to these Sustainable Development Goals? And that's true in health. So it's a bit of a construction to say it like that, but it does fit. So there is a streamlining possible between our action at national, European, and international level on this base. So now more the techniques of the project, how it works. The ambition of the project is to take a stop, to push the pause button and say, okay, let's step back and let's think and reflect about what we're doing, what the situation is, and where we're going. And for that, the work has started with establishing a knowledge base, and that was in particular done by our colleagues from Orphanet, and we have Anurag, the director, with us today. So you're making new friends. Okay, that's good. And so starting from the knowledge base, and I think we have a slide that explains more the knowledge base later on, but then after, to develop the trends, and that's a key job of today, to review and validate oops, yeah, okay, no, it's okay. And today we're starting the work to develop the future scenarios, and at the end we will have the policy recommendation. So the end product of all the work is to propose priorities, is to propose recommendations. So the end product is very concrete. Next. Thank you. So that's exactly the same presentation, but presented in a different way. It's exactly the same information, but in a different way. It's the knowledge base, then to move into the horizon scanning, so 2040 and with the panel of experts. So you all participated to this exercise, the patient workshops that are coming up, interviews of key opinion leaders to identify the trends. And this is going to be the core work this morning. And then starting the future scenarios. Then the backcasting to define the how. The horizon scanning is really what if, trying to think openly, what if. But the third column is how do we get there in terms of scenarios, which help us obviously to come to the recommendations with some exercise in the middle, which are the different conferences and meetings. So the project partners that I'd like to recognize and thanks warmly here are Orphanet, which we couldn't think to do this project without the colleagues of Orphanet. We should always remember that it's not only an encyclopedia and a resource, but there is a lot, much more that can be derived and used from Orphanet. The colleagues from Newcastle University have been so instrumental on the work on policy development in the joint actions where we work together with Orphanet Awards. The Teleton Italia, thank you for being part of this. And an essential partner without which there will be no quality in this project is EasyNova, which is probably the partner you're the less familiar with, but their specialty, and that's going to be Andrea that you will see in a moment to animate the morning, is their specialty is really foresight. It's that looking at the future. And they do that in energy, in public transport, in all sorts of industry. And they've done it in the area of chronic disease, which was the only one so far foresight exercise at the European level in health. So it was making sense for us to build on this experience and know-how. And we have the European Funds networks through 2 networks which are involved in this, and we have the privilege to have the 2 leaders of this network with us today. And so metabolic disorders with Maurizio Scarpa was with us here, and rare bone disorders. I'm not sure who is here for rare bone disorders, in fact, today. I'm sorry. I've not. Oh, maybe not. Okay, maybe not. Okay. And the Imperial College London, who is working more particularly on the aspect of innovation and products and orphan drugs. Next. The panel of experts, so that's you, that's the composition. We have about 880 members from 33 countries. And the work has been structured around 8 topics, and you had usually 2 calls to work on each of these topics, to work on the trends. And we're very privileged to have this research advisory boards, and you see the names here. We have from this advisory board Milan Maciek with us today. And we also have Mr. Robert Madeleine with us, and I would like to thanks really warmly both of you. I have to say that some people who are not here are although very much contributing. Mr. Rudiger Kresch from WHO, who is in charge of healthcare and our lead contact at WHO for rare diseases. Ruxandra Draghi-Akli, who is the former Director General for Research at the European Commission, and it's very strongly supportive. So when you think of it, what we wanted to have is a Director General for Research, which has been very committed to rare disease during her tenure, but also Robert Madeleine, a former Director General of Health, of Santé in the Commission. So to have people who have that kind of mindset, to think wide, to think transversal, and to think system also. And we have also Didier Schmidt was a specialist in foresight. He worked in space. His area is aeronautic and space, so far from rare diseases. But you cannot imagine how quick he is to pick up on all the issues. And he used to be an advisor to Mr. Juncker. And Simon Coase was the Chief Medical Officer of Microsoft, and we've been working with him for 2 years. And he's also advising. Kate Bushby is known to all of you, and also Natasha Azopardi. Patients and advocates play a key role all along. They are highly consulted through this panel. Some of them are members. They will also organize regional workshops, 6 regional workshops. They are also consulted through the different networks within EUORDIS. So you can guess that the patients and the parents and patient advocates are highly contributing to that whole process. And there will be a survey taking place later in 2020. Next. So today, no, oops, I missed something. Oh no, yes, the process that I mentioned that is between the scenario building and the recommendations is that we need here steps for appropriation. And part of that is the survey using our tool Rare Barometer to 10,000 patients and families in Europe. So it's powerful. And usually we have high level of answers. It's around 4,000, 7,000 people answering usually. And we will have this citizen conference, which we will organize as a young citizen conference. So we decided to go for the young patients, the young relatives, the young professionals to think about the future they want. Next. So going faster, what we do this morning is we'll start by the identification of trends, presentation of them, and the discussion on their importance and the uncertainty of these trends to happen and to validate them. And also what's important is to hear you live today in the room to say, you got it wrong, you're missing that. There is this also. So that's the moment where you can continue really to help us see, are we missing potential disruptions, potential wildcards that we have not identified. And you will rank them today, and this afternoon we will start the work on the scenarios. The emerging trends, they are listed here. I will not read them. You've done the exercise, I guess, to answer them, so you're fully familiar with that. And they are organized by trends in healthcare, so into clusters: the digitalization, the big data, the aging population, the access to medical products, or the new healthcare delivery models, and saying if it is technological, social-cultural, or economics. And with that, to conclude this introduction, we will now listen to Rudika Gresh from WHO, one of our research advisors, who has recorded a video. Thank you.
Dear colleagues of the RDI community, I'm really sad that I cannot be with you today in person to validate trends in the future of rare disease and health policy. As you are designing potential future scenarios based on these trends, I'm humbly adding some thoughts. I was particularly pleased to see the analysis of the emerging trends that you have conducted. This gives a strong basis to build potential scenarios. I would complement such trends with those that will have an impact on the diagnosis and treatment of rare diseases. When it comes to new technologies, I would widen the view slightly to include innovation, for instance, in communications technologies, as these might have an impact on potential innovative networks and centers of excellence globally. You have shaped this foresight study very well. You have asked us to look 10 years ahead. What would we call a great step forward? Where do we want to be? Well, for my part, I would like to see a network of centers of excellence of rare diseases globally. These centers would cluster groups of rare diseases and bring together world-class experts in the diagnosis. They would be connected virtually with care centers around the world and stand by for acute advice during patient crisis, and be virtually present at the bedside. These experts would be partners of treating health personnel and counsel when it comes to the organization of care at home. Such centers would be top-notch research places when it comes to innovation in diagnostics and exploit ever shorter innovation cycles for diagnostics and treatments of rare diseases. They would be world-renowned training centers and offer twinning opportunities. They would be financed through international agreements of healthcare purchases. The health impact of these centers of excellence will be to reduce the time it takes to diagnose a rare disease, to improve the patient-centered care, and in the best of all scenarios, they would also decrease the number of patients with rare diseases, as some more might be found to be curable. Dear colleagues, in WHO, we have a clear compass that orientates us conceptually and in prioritizing our work. It is the global program of work in which we seek to reach 1 billion more people that will benefit from universal health coverage, 1 billion more people being safe from emergencies, and 1 billion more people enjoying healthier lives. We are committed to leaving no one behind, and this includes, obviously, also people with rare diseases. This current GPW runs until 2023. It is guided by the Sustainable Development Goals and is an operationalization of these goals in a 5-year period. I'm sure that the scenarios and options that you are developing will be operational as well. To this end, you are looking at the PASL categories. Each of the categories is obviously important to consider in developing strategies that drive the implementation of the scenario you developed. For instance, the availability of certain medicines should not be a matter of charity, depending on the goodwill of a donor who could, if the wind changes, withdraw the commitment. Medicines for rare diseases have to be part of a transparent pricing system and included in prepayment mechanisms of health insurance. As we all know, this will require serious efforts by all partners, as the current practice is indeed intransparent and confidential. WHO has initiated a fair pricing dialogue with industry and partners, and thus makes the economic argument to provide needed medicines for everyone. But there is also scope in looking at the interdependency within these categories. Only if we can show the way to such a transparent pricing of medicines will the political argument of leaving no one behind become a realistic goal. Only if we link the societal and cultural shift towards universal health coverage with an ethical dimension that no one should die because an inability to pay out of pocket for hugely expensive drugs, can we also make the case for rare diseases. I wish you fruitful deliberations, and I'm grateful that you consider WHO to be on your side.